How's it going,
Zane
guys?
is much more of a feminist than these guys.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Could you tell me what you're doing out here, what your sign means, and
Well, you know, I think of the Proud Boys as just, and these guys, this group are just kind of lonely, broken men trying to like make do in this world that's catching, you know, moving past them, and so they just gotta.
Fragile boy children.
They're fragile, you know. We're all fragile. Everyone on both sides of Market Street are kind of are angry at the, you know, just they have the current system on their side, and they're trying to like wag their dick around, and that's just kind of what they're doing. And we're, you know, we just got a bigger dick, I guess, in a metaphorical sense, because we have ovaries and all sorts of massive, powerful gonads, and they have a serious problem with that. You know, they got their own Napoleonic complex, shall we say. And I'm just saying that their toxic masculinity is nothing to be proud of. You know, they're not achieving a greater good. They're just kind of stuck in something that's keeping them psychologically down.
and what would you like to see happen to combat the toxic masculinity?
I think they need a big hug.
Big hug?
They need a great big hug.
I think you're on the wrong side then. You need to be over there giving out hugs.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to change their ideology before they get a hug.
And that's a good point, because
No hugs until you admit you're an asshole.
this is the problem of the binary here, where we're divided because we're not to be trusted, type of thing. And so the police divide us into one side. You're for this, or you're for that. When in fact these guys are lonely. They're broken. They need some sort of fucking tenderness or whatever the heck like that. But no, you're like, what side are you on? And you show up, and we're corralled into this, and we're corralled into that. In fact, when I had to go take a leak, I was in the men's bathroom, and I had an epiphany. If there's one place where shit's going to go down, it's the men's bathroom, because those guys got to piss and we got to piss. So when I left, I went and told the police commissioner, I'm like, hey, you should just have an officer stationed in the men's bathroom, because if there's a vulnerable spot in this whole endeavor, it's the men's bathroom of the Independence Visitor Center. And the police chief, I don't know, he humoured me. I don't know if he sent someone in there, because I haven't had to piss since then. But that's where we don't interact with each other. We're all siphoned off, you know. That's kind of that's the problem that we're at right now.
All right, so you're saying that they find their connectedness with each other through doing chest bumps or whatever,
Yeah.
showing manliness. Is there something wrong with that, or?
Do I think there's something wrong? I mean, I recognize we are like a generation that we say, like, how I see it, that's kind of like that, maybe like soft Fight Club when we're younger, and we all kind of like diverge, shall we say. And so they have their own Tyler Durden Project Mayhem, and we have our own Project Mayhem type of thing. And so they have a certain degree of camaraderie. This is how they solve their loneliness. It's a lonely, cruel world, and that's what they do to solve it. And we have our own way. You know, we have what the goals that we want to see. Now, I don't know what the heck they want to achieve, what their end goal on a policy level is. I
think what they are is they're threatened and afraid. They see America changing, and they see that the contract that their fathers and grandfathers had, it's not there anymore. It's been taken away, and so they're afraid of the change and everything. And it's like America's becoming more diverse and everything, and that's what they're really afraid of. And it's like, it's really nothing to be afraid of. It's like, you know, you wouldn't be a boy if you would be a man, and to be a man would be to accept that this is all good. It's all good that things are changing, that things are more diverse, that there's more freedom for everybody.
And could you define to me what toxic masculinity is?
What is toxic masculinity? Well, I mean, look at this group over here. Does this group over here look like America type of thing? It's overwhelmingly male. They got a few women over there type of thing, but that's in the sense of the toxic masculinity is the male way, the patriarchal type of way of this is the only way to achieve. The man has to be the strength, you know. There's a certain degree of like the Proud Boys of the recognition that one thing I will commend them for is their kind of trying to aversion of masturbation and stuff like that. Because I do agree that a certain degree of the pornographic culture where we are becoming divergent, where we don't have that human connection, that lack of human connection, and we are folks that don't have the social skills and stuff. There was a recent article that was a super big one written in the Atlantic that just came out about why young people aren't having sex anymore, and they really do. They give at least Gavin McInnes a little bit of his due that I'll give him, where recognizing that if you're just alone and masturbating, you're not gonna help achieve a greater world type of thing. But a toxic masculinity is more of trying to, like, what are these guys fighting for? Why are they so angry? I think, why do these groups want to, punch people and call them faggot and whatnot, which, happened up in New York a few weeks ago? What drives them to do that? Because of this masculine culture of, like, this is how you got to do. You got to be the tough guy. You got to wag your gun around and stuff like that. And that's like the He-Man type of masculinity that they idealize, where you lessen women, you yell at soy boys, and you're worried about the soy products in that's. Look at all the soy protein infused in the Taco Bell, man. It's going to make your dick small and all this type of stuff. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. And so they try to and they try to say, this is what the real man's like. And, I was blessed to be raised by a single mother who was the first woman to work in a grounds department. She was a school gardener, and she was the first woman to work in her department in like the 1980s. Then she got laid off. She went to another school district, and she was the first woman there. She was a badass woman, and I've been blessed to be raised and be around strong women my whole life. And the idea that you're going to have any sort of patriotic, any sort of strong thing, and you're not at least half women. Like, what are you doing? What are they achieving over there? Why? What are they here for if there's some sort of patriotic thing if they don't have more women there? There's something toxic. I don't trust any organization that doesn't have more women in leadership. All sorts of stuff. Catholic Church, no women in leadership. What do they have? Not a bunch, but they allow, like, the kid fuckery going on there because too much toxic masculinity. Penn State, what do they have? Not enough women around there. What do they have? Kid fucking, all sorts of dangerous stuff. I don't trust any sort of organization that tries to purposefully exclude women. So if they had more women over there shouting about, how good things used to be, then,
But they want the women to make the sandwiches, though. That's their whole thing. It's like, you let the men go out and handle this stuff, honey, and make sure that my sandwich and beer is waiting for me when I get in. It's like a canned. It's like a weird canned masculinity from the 1950s. My wife's been away for a month,
and I've been eating like crap. So
yeah. I mean, but I cook. How my wife makes dinner, I make breakfast. That's the thing. Why? Because I'm a morning person, so that's kind of what I do. I get up and make breakfast because she has a hard time getting up. That's the symbiotic relationship. That's the equality. How do you have self-respect if you're not, like, playing in a fair fight? That's the type of thing. These guys out here, I mean, I don't know what their policy is per se, but what I've seen online is they have kind of a nostalgia for how things used to be on a gender basis. Now, there are people of color over there, so I'm not going to say they're entirely white supremacists, but if you have a nostalgia for how things used to be, then you have a tacit white supremacy there because our country has a history and our culture has a history of white supremacy. So you're going to be revising history to not recognizing that.
Is there a toxic femininity?
A toxic femininity? Well...
Toxic humanity.
Toxic femininity. I think the toxic masculinity is a reactionary to a certain change. Now, if you want to say toxic femininity, I think there's a certain degree of seeing how the world is, seeing how the slowness to equality, that some folks are going to be certain, like, what you call excited and whatnot, and that they're going to have your lesbian separatists, communities, and there are certain folks that exists. I have some friends Francisco that joined a lesbian separatist compound, but they're not that lesbian separatist because they still are friends with me and they're cool with me. But as far as toxic femininity, I don't think that the power dynamics really can allow that. I think that's kind of not recognizing how the system works. Just like how when you divide about what's racist and whatnot, by nature, white supremacy is racist because racism is a social thing. You have to have a collective thing. It's not an individual sin, it's a social sin, it's a collective sin. You can't have one person per se cannot necessarily be racist. Only a system could be racist.
So if I hated somebody based on their race, that would not be racism?
You would be prejudiced. You would be prejudiced. But collective, if we have a collective, if you get enough of the people that together and want to enforce this prejudice, want to continue and perpetuate this prejudice, that's racism. But it's like they say in Christianity, you know, wherever you have two, then you could have the gospel or something like that. So it's a collective sin. You could hate someone all you want, and you could, colloquially, we could refer to that as racism. But on an academic level, it's not necessarily racism, it's prejudice. So systems could be racist. Societies could be racist because it's a collective thing. But that's how I would define racist. So when people say like, oh, that's racist because you talk about, white supremacy or something like that, that's not racism. That's not racism. That's the thing. And it may upset some folks because you're like, oh, it's not fair. There's this powerful word that I want to use. I want to bring you down because we recognize racism as bad. And so you call me a racist. I want to call you a racist. But it's not intellectually honest. It's not, it's just not how the system works. So if you want to have, just like the police did, and try to force a dichotomy here where you have this side and that side, well, there's masculinity and there's femininity, and both could be toxic. I don't think that history works that way. We're right here where they wrote the Constitution. The Constitution, which says we the people in order to form a more perfect union. What does it mean to form a more perfect union? This gentleman right here has a hat on that says something about a more make America union again. Make America union again. We want to form a more perfect union. Right there, the very first sentence of our Constitution says we want to become more perfect. We want progress. We always want to be more perfect. Never looking back to how we were great in the past, but we want to be better in the future. And so when you look at our current system, which has inequity, well, where's the inequity? The inequity comes from a certain patriarchal structure where the men are making more for doing comparable work. The toxic masculinity of people not feeling as safe. How many times have you held your car keys in your hand when you go through a dark parking lot? You're a dude. How many times have you done that?
I held my car keys?
Yeah.
I always have my car keys when I'm
in your hand. Have you held them knitted in your fists? How many times have you walked through a parking lot like this?
Not too often.
Not too often. Well, my wife has done that much more often than I have. I bet you plenty of the women around here have done that much more often because it's a lack of safety. Because that is this is the thing that infects our culture. A certain degree of what I refer to as toxic masculinity.
Wouldn't that have to do with physical attributes that make women less prone to be able to defend themselves?
Well, also on a power structure, women are going to be because of men are much more likely to attack women than women are going to attack men. So if you want to say it doesn't on a power structure, do you think Vern Troyer, Mini-Me, you think he's on a certain thing? I most likely could kick his ass because he's 3 foot tall. Do you think he's going to be walking around with his car keys on there because he's a short dude? He could get his ass. If you're talking about power thing, oh well, someone so and so is more physically demure. Do 4 foot 4'6" dudes do little people walk around like that because they're smaller, they could get their ass kicked?
I think it depends on the neighborhood you're in that situation.
Well,
Mini-Me's probably in a rich neighborhood in Hollywood.
Actually,
he recently passed away.
He's not really worried about
I know,
much
he just
of
passed away
anything
recently.
anymore.
But
Unfortunately,
I'm just pointing that on a physical level. If you're talking about that, there's a certain degree of cultural aspect that is infected, which makes some folks feel more psychologically not safe, and other folks don't even think about it. Don't even think about it.
I think it's economic, though, because it's like they tell people, well, you tell women, like, right away that the work you do isn't equal to a man, so we're going to pay you less and everything. It's like this perceived, like it goes from economic to sociological to conditioning and everything, where it's like you're not as valued in the society. And so the thing is, you end up feeling less confident about yourself because already it's like the deck has been stacked up against you. I don't think there's such a thing as toxic femininity. I think there's toxic humanity. But I think the reverse of toxic masculinity, the female counterpart, would be a woman that feels like she has no voice, she has no power, she has no right to take her power. I think if there was a toxic femininity, that would be it. It would be to be a victim, to acquiesce, to give your power away, to give your voice away.
To think that,
that would be the inverse.
That the structure where the woman is lesser than is the appropriate structure. That, I agree, that is the toxic femininity. Absolutely, that's what I was going for. You said it much more astutely than me.
All right, so if it takes a group to make something racist, if I was to be walking through a black neighborhood and got jumped for being white, would that be racist?
Would that be racist? Well, the system, on a systemic thing, would that be racist? Well, have you ever been jumped for being white?
Yes.
You have? Okay. Was it specifically for being white, or where was this at? What neighborhood?
This was on a bus with all black kids.
Okay, where at? What city? In Philly?
Bucks County.
In Bucks County.
Bristol.
In Bristol. There's a large African American population in Bristol?
There's neighborhoods.
Okay, there's neighborhoods. So you got jumped for being white.
Right.
Okay.
Walking through a black neighborhood.
Walking through a black. Did they take anything from you? Was this an economic thing? They tried to take your phone or something?
No, just beat me up.
They just beat you up? Okay, all right. And what did they say when they beat you up?
I don't remember what they said.
Well, you don't remember what they said?
No.
I mean, I think that's more of a turf thing. It's kind of like a lot of people feel like, okay, you're on our turf. You're classically the enemy, so you're kind of wandering into our turf.
I guess my question is, at what point, what kind of power do you have to have over someone to become racist?
Did you report this to the police?
No.
You didn't report this to police? How bad they beat you up?
Not terribly bad.
Not terribly bad? I mean, I was a kid. Okay, you were a kid?
13, someone in the neighborhood came and stopped it, but there was 5 people who came
and were they kids
me.
too?
And how is this?
I think that goes more, though, into kids being kids. It's like, I've always been more afraid of white people. As a gay man, I've been fag bashed by white people. I've been harassed by white people. It's like I've never had any problems with people of color. Matter of fact, it was like I was getting beat up by these guys that were white and everything, and 2 black guys came and told them to leave me the fuck alone and drove me to the emergency room. So it's like I've always been more afraid of white guys as a gay man.
So what structural power did these guys have besides the brutalizing you at 13? So they were
they had physical power.
They had this physical pit, and so they had the physical power of releasing this id and attacking you, right? But on an institutional power, what institutional power do they have besides making you as a group of them feel less safe? And how have you compartmentalized this, like years later, about being attacked when you're a young man, by a group of black youth? Are you less likely to feel safe when you're around black youth?
No, not necessarily.
I'm
less likely to be walking by myself through a black neighborhood, though.
Do you grab your, because I was attacked by a group of black youth a couple years ago, actually, over on 16th and Wallace, and just by CCP. And they jumped me, but mine was more of an economic thing where they were trying to beat the shit out of me taking my iPhone. Did what do you call a flash mob, as they say in Philly. And I saw them walking down the street, and I actually had a distinctive thing where I said, and I'm actually from Northern California, but I moved here, my wife's from Philly, and I'm living here now. And I instinctively said, don't be racist. Don't be racist. I saw a group of black youth, and I said, don't be racist. And I thought, they're going to walk past. They're going to walk past over. And one of them, I was kind of leaning against this wall, kind of not in the best. In hindsight, I was not in the best optimal position. I was definitely in a vulnerable occasion. But one of them tripped on my foot, like faux tripped, kind of like, oh, turns to their friend, oh, look what this guy's doing. And I said, oh, what are you a comedian or something? And he's like, what'd you say? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I should have stayed in your lane. You know, I remember this. This is like, you know, we have a traumatic experience, just like you're, you know, attacking right there. You're going to remember these specific details as we have with traumatic experiences. And as I was trying to make this joke of like, oh, I'm sorry, I guess I should stay in my lane, another fella like hit me, and then I got like, you know, 6 to 8, I don't know exactly how many of them, but they were pummeling me, throwing a trash can at me, and beat the shit out of me, trying to take my phone. Of course, you know, they were like 14 years old, but you know, you get enough 14-year-olds, they could do some damage, and so they beat the crap out of me. But I'm gonna say now, psychologically, yeah. Years later, if I see a group of youth, I'm gonna like grab my phone a little bit. I'm gonna admit that. You know, I gotta have that thing ground bias in my thing. But when I called the police, Philly police shows up right here. They take a report. They come and right around the corner, they actually some dudes that fit the description because these kids run off. They come and I'm sitting in the back of the police car because they say, "Hey, let's go around the corner and identify someone." I noticed that it's not the dudes that attacked me. It's not the dudes that attacked me. They're talking just like a couple 18-year-olds and like an 11-year-old. And I recognize that's not them, so I yell out the window. I tell the officer driving that's not them. And he's like, "Are you sure? Look closer." And I'm like, "No, it's not them." I yell out the window, "Sorry, guys." And then the officer yells at me, "Don't apologize. Don't say anything." And I'm like, "What? These guys have their night ruined. Yeah, some guys hit me, beat me up. I'm sore. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. But that doesn't mean that someone else has to be terrified, that someone's going to misidentify them, that some white dude's going to be looking out the window that can't identify the difference between Chris Rock, Chris Tucker, or Chris Brown, like all black guys look the same, and they're going to have that terror right there being stopped by the police." And the officer said, "Don't apologize. They don't deserve an apology." And that's the institution right there. The institution is people being stopped and people being lessened, people being demeaned for the security of others. I recognize there's no reasonable way to achieve like how do you solve that situation. But I will say, when I went back to the police station, did a police report, the first responding officer said, "Hey, you know, those guys, all they need is a kick in the ass. Like, that violence is the solution." So that's an institutional type of thing. A group of youth doing something, is that racism? We could have that philosophical question, but that goes into what is the power? Like, where does the power lie in the institution? Is it a neighborhood?
The question is, at what point does it become racism then? If it's a group of kids that can physically overpower you, that's not racism. But if it's the state overpowering you, then that is racism. It has to be state in order to be racism.
Therein lies the rub. It's an amorphous thing. Could we agree maybe there's degrees of racism, of racial power, that maybe on a communal level will give the power of the racist? If it's a group, if it's a neighborhood that bands together, it says, if you see a white kid, we're going to beat him up. Maybe that's racism by like 1 degree. But if it's the state, that's racism by 10 degrees. Could we agree on that? Maybe that.
Well, what about this situation? If the state, like the rally here is promoting, stops the speech of white supremacists, but doesn't stop the speech of other supremacist groups like Jewish supremacy or black supremacy.
Jewish supremacy? What's an example of a Jewish supremacist group? I mean, I guess the Lakud in Israel or something, I guess?
Well, the belief system that they're a better people chosen of God than anyone else.
Oh, yeah, you could make that argument there. You could read the Old Testament. Yeah, we are the chosen people. Okay, that's okay.
So if you allow other types of supremacist groups, isn't that state institutionalized racism against white people at that point? If you didn't stop all supremacist
I mean,
groups?
Jews are white people, though.
They're Semitic people.
If you are Ashkenazi...
It depends on who you ask, right?
Jews are white people. I mean, when a Jew fills out a form, a statistical form, is there Jew or is there Caucasian? You say Caucasian. Are they going to say Asian or something like that? Where a Jew is a white person. What else would they be on a statistical level? Like when you fill out your data, if you say white, is there a Jew, depending on how specific your data entry is going to be, but how many statistical data forms have you filled out that marked Jew on it? Very rarely. Most likely, they're going to be marking white people. They're going to be marking Caucasian. Then it's going to say, are you Hispanic or not Hispanic? Then they're going to say not Hispanic. Unless they're like Frida Kahlo, whose mother was Mexican and father was Jewish.
White, then you're okay with them?
No, I'm just pointing out that it's different. You can't conflate various different ethnic groups about, that's why there's a difference between black supremacy and white supremacy. Black supremacy is just not even really a thing. There's like black separatist groups that are trying to like have a structure where the black person is in charge, only because institutionally that's a rarity to find. But white is more of a European type of concept. White is like a Eurocentric, Euro supremacy. That's what we mean by white. Right, no one's saying Irish supremacist or Scottish supremacy.
The question is, if they were to make a law saying that white supremacist groups can't come out and speak, would that not be a racist law, seeing how it is legislated and it's systematic at that point?
Is it? Where's an example of this law?
This is what the rally's for, to be able to, so that these guys aren't able to get.
What? You don't think these people want to be here?
No.
You don't think this is a symbiotic relationship at all? You don't think this is a symbiotic? Who wants to be here? Who's having a good time?
No, I'm saying.
Yeah. This is a symbiotic thing. This is what we love. You think this is? These guys are getting paid overtime. Why do you think the FOP endorsed Trump? More protests. Everyone wants to be here.
Right. The point on this side, I'm not saying they don't want to be here. They don't want the Proud Boys to be allowed to gather. So
I think.
Do you not understand the question? If the or any white supremacist groups, they want to make it illegal for white supremacist groups. So when you make it illegal, now you're making it systemic.
White supremacist groups that are doing what? That are calling for violence?
That are doing whatever they're doing over there.
Are they calling for violence?
I don't.
Do the Proud Boys call for violence?
I mean, there's individuals in all groups. Does Antifa call for violence?
You mean like the founder of the Proud Boys taking a sword and trying to and emulating the decapitation of a leader in another place and saying this is what we want to do here? That's not calling for violence. They're not having the waving the Trump banner. Who calls for violence? They're not calling for violence.
Right, so
who here is dressed to fight? Who here is dressed to fight? Yo, dude. Who's dressed to fight? Yo. Let's see. Let's look around. Let's see if there's any like knee pads or thing. Who's dressed to fight here? Are you dressed to fight, sir?
I do have a knife.
He's ready.
Okay.
And a ski mask. I hate these scumbags.
Well, but no one here is dressed to fight.
No, but I'm prepared to fucking kill and defend my people. It's called human dignity.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Quaker meeting tomorrow, but not now.
Okay. All right.
This is not the meeting house.
You're a friend, all right.
Right,
He's a
you're
friend.
goddamn right, I'm a friend. I'm going to go in
Quakers.
there face calling the little dick's piece of shit, motherfucker, homeless, goddamn, motherless child.
So do you think that people emulating cutting off like Donald Trump's head and stuff like that should be banned as well?
That's freedom. I'm
who are you with?
I'm not saying anyone should be banned.
Anarchistpost?
Yes.
Yes, that should be banned as well, cutting
Start
off.
with Richard Spencer and bleeding to death like a fucking smelly piece of shit pig that he is. On the streets, post it and say, game on, little bitches. Fuck these people. Fuck those people.
I'm saying there's people over there that are dressed to fight. No one here is dressed to fight.
Yeah,
it's ironic.
Bingo. Look at that shit.
It's ironic.
I'm feeling photogenic. What can I say?
You're doing good, man.
And chatty. And it's all extemporaneous. These guys have no mothers. They have no origin. Come on. The deep, deep slide.
At what point is hate speech and free speech? Where's the line on that?
Hate speech should not. I'm not a free speech purist. Okay? No. Hate speech should not be protected. No, you don't sit there with all those fucking goddamn anonymous trolls and share people's personal information so that they can be stalked, harassed, demeaned, possibly injured. No. These guys, they don't have any rights. They don't understand it.
Are you against people stalking and demeaning people on the right wing?
No.
So it's a one-sided thing there? Where
Yeah, it's because there's a false equivalency, so I'm not playing that game. Okay, these guys are actually dangerous. This is how virulent hatred spreads. And the aphorism, the epigram is you only hate hate, but it's okay to hate hate. So, hello camera, I'm a hater of hate. And a good Quaker Jew, by the way. So if you want a target, come at it, because I'm actually a recovering badass and a former juvenile delinquent, no longer a juvenile. I stopped fighting 40 years ago because I can really fuck people up.
You've been out of juvie for a while.
And yeah, I've been out of juvie for a while, and by the way, I have an advanced degree from Duke University, so I'm really fucking smart. And I got Jew lawyers, I'm surrounded, so I can stick this baby in your throat and walk. Provoke me, boom, or any of my people. Period. Whoa, there's solidarity here. Oh yeah.
I'm not for stabbing anyone.
I am. I'm a hungry guy. I put.
To stabbing people.
So am I, by the way. And look, just handling the thing, I hurt myself. But I tell you what, I put neo-Nazis on my bagel with lox. I love that. You know, a lot of people do red onions and tomatoes. I do neo-Nazis. Now you say, how can you get a neo-Nazi inside a humble bagel? You know? Well, trust me on that, okay? And by the way, this is not fake news. I'm a neo-Nazi eater. So when I have a traditional Jewish breakfast, it's not complete with Nazis. Please. So I want you to come to my address, exactly where I live. Badass way. Peace, if only I meant it.
Well, Nazis don't have hooves, so they could be kosher, right? You know?
Yeah, whoa! Attention to detail.
Cannibalism
a
isn't
fellow smart guy,
kosher.
nuance.
I mean,
nuance, shades of gray.
Just saying, cannibalism isn't necessarily unkosher. I guess.
Surprisingly, he's a purist. And you know what? I take statins and actually blood pressure medicine, okay? Which means I can eat a lot at one time, and my cholesterol level is unfazed. So if you're a fat Nazi, I'm taking the cholesterol medicine, and I can get away with it. See, look how thin I am. And you'd be surprised how many Nazis.
You're losing a button though, right there. You gotta get your button there.
Oh, sorry.
The definition you gave of racism had to do with socioeconomic power over somebody.
Hey, thanks.
Is there anywhere where you found
I'm actually much more articulate. I'm upset.
I know. I recognize. You get excited.
I'm going to have a cigarette here, maybe smoke a little sativa, desensitize the gendarmes.
Yeah, everyone's.
You know, these guys should smoke more pot.
This thing.
It sounds like you need it right now, man.
No,
You're ready
less
for
meth, more pot.
Think about this. Doesn't make sense. We're trying to make this simple thing. Think about it. Look at the irony. No one here is dressed to fight. No one here is dressed to fight. Everyone here showed up thinking with the respect, with the expectation.
My grandfather was an anarchist, okay, in the early 1900s. I'm not kidding. He fled the Ukrainians. All right? So I'm actually what you call a professional. I'm a professional here. Yeah, well, Emma Goldman had an affair with my grandfather. Got that?
All right. I'm saying there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on here, where you have officers here all lined up. No one here is dressed to fight. Everyone here showed up with the faith that we could express our First Amendment rights over here. Over there's a few folks that are dressed to fight. Ironically, they're waving around a Blue Lives Matter flag. They're waving around a Blue Lives Matter flag over there. Yet, isn't it not an insult? The expectation that the Philadelphia Police Department, which has one of the most on the forefront crowd control thing. Like, I remember when the Muslim ban happened, I went to the Philadelphia Police Department, and I literally saw firsthand the commissioner of the police moving the barricades to make sure that there is space for demonstrations. Philadelphia police know how to handle political demonstrations. That we're right here by the, where the Constitution was written. So, people here, they show up expecting we're going to have our First Amendment rights, recognizing they're going to have their First Amendment rights. Everyone here recognizes they're going to be protected over here. But there's jackasses over there that dressed for a fight. What type of an insult is it to the Philadelphia Police Department that they're showing up like the Philly police are going to allow a fight to happen? They're the ones that are waving around a Blue Lives Matter flag without the cognitive dissonance that they're saying, fuck you to the cops. They're saying the fuck you to the cops. You're not prepared. You're going to allow for violence. That's the cognitive dissonance right there. These guys are like they're having a protest rally when they're present, when they have the power. That's the cognitive dissonance here. This side is more frustrated because we feel more disempowered by this system, this archaic system. That's why I'm saying that's what's happening here. Everyone's like, what the hell is going on? There's things that just don't make sense. These guys are angry when they're winning on a certain political level. We're angry because we're winning on a cultural level, but the political system isn't enfranchising us on a correctly proportional level.
All right. Well, my question was the definition of racism you gave. Where did you find that? What dictionary do you find that you need to have socioeconomic? Because when I look up racism, it's just where you dislike or hate somebody or have a preference towards somebody based on their race, not that you have to have a socioeconomic control.
I'm just okay. What's the difference between prejudice and racism then?
Well, to me, racism is a noticing of differences in races, and prejudice is where you hate somebody because of those differences.
So you're saying prejudice is like a balloon term, and racist is a certain subset of prejudice. You could be prejudiced because you could hate someone because of their gender or because of their sexuality or because of their race. So within this subset of prejudice, there's racism.
Right.
Some prejudiced people hate people because of their race. But
what I'm saying is I've never found anywhere that defines racism as having socioeconomic. It's a new redefining of racism, where racism has been defined as something for hundreds of years, and now within the past 10 years.
If we bring up the Webster's, let's etymology. Let's find out when the word racist entered into the lexicon. Let's be lexicographers here. I'm curious, as we say for hundreds of years, I'm wondering when the word racist actually shows up. Like, I would wager it probably entered into the thing maybe the late 19th century. I don't know. What's your guess?
I would assume in the 1800s we had racism.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about the word racist. Etymology.
Either way, the definition of racism being a socioeconomic is something that's been within the past 5 years, 10 years tops. And it's something that is not defined in dictionaries. It's something that's defined by people on TV. And
racist actually was invented as an adjective in 1938. 1938, that's how old the word racist is.
And how long has it, or where does it mean a socioeconomic power over somebody?
In Anglo-Saxonism as the belief of superiority of the English race, and has been used disparagingly from 1860. Anti-Negro. How it's been used colloquially, that's what I'm saying. Racist is a power structure thing. Like how it was defined. It wasn't always like, oh, are you saying that Nat Turner was a racist?
I don't know.
Was Nat Turner, you don't know Nat Turner? Nat Turner, who rose up in like 1833 or so as a slave and killed his masters and went around and tried to kill a bunch of the white people. Was Nat Turner a racist? He exclusively just killed white people. Was Nat Turner a racist?
Probably.
So you're saying Nat Turner, who was a slave his entire life, beaten and brutalized, his family sold off, brutalized by the white people his whole life, and then when he finally gets some power to get them together with people, and he goes and just kills white people who were the masters, he's the racist because he only killed white people. You're saying Nat Turner was a racist.
Wait, was he killing white people because they're white, or was he killing white people because they were subjugating other people? It depends on...
Well, how, in the era that he was living in, of the 1833, white people were the ones that were enslaving other people. And so
not all white people were enslaving people. So yeah, if he was only, it doesn't matter if
he was killing the masters. He was killing the masters' home and killing them.
Right,
but he was killing children. He was killing children.
Right, the guy was a racist then. Yeah.
So he's killing a child. Now those children there, what are they going to be when they grow up? In 1833, we're thinking about the context because we're saying racism is hundreds of years old word. I'm saying it in 1938. That's what I'm saying. If you see the power structure, there's a nuance to it. I'm saying there's a nuance. You can't just say, like, I do not believe that Nat Turner was a racist. That's the thing. Did he only kill white people? Yeah, but Nat Turner wasn't a racist. Nat Turner, there's a power structure.
I don't think Nat Turner was a racist because he only killed white people. But if he killed people only because they were white, then yes, he was a racist.
he was a racist, but that doesn't...
Not because he only killed white people, but because he did it based on the fact that they were white. If he killed someone who had nothing to do with slavery and somebody's child, he killed them because they were white, yeah, the guy was a racist. And he was a racist because he had a terrible...
But all the people he killed owned other people. And they could own other people because they were white. You could not do it in the other way around.
You said he killed children.
He did kill children.
Okay, the children didn't own other people.
Yeah, they did.
They were kids. Their parents might have.
Their parents did, yeah, but we're talking at 1833. Are we being moral relativists here? Are we looking at this and say, oh, Nat Turner should have been nice to the children? Like what they should have left witnesses, shall we say? I'm saying in the context of 1833, it's a different world. I'm saying it's a different world.
I'm saying in 3000 BC, when the children of Israel went to the Palestinians and killed everybody, including women and children, that was wrong.
And that absolutely,
it doesn't matter that it was
absolutely,
that it was 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. The time frame doesn't matter. Right and wrong is the same. If you can't go around killing people's children and think that that's right because they were white during a certain time frame, that's racism.
Is that? I mean, I'm saying it's in the context of Nat Turner, and we certainly have gone divergent. I'm not sure. I would have to ponder that a little bit more. Maybe it was wrong, maybe it was right. But I don't exactly know all the children that he killed. I'm not necessarily a historian on this matter. I just know to the extent that Nat Turner went house to house, and they were killing people, kill all the white people because the white people are the ones that own. And those children there, it's kind of like, if you got a time machine, would you go back and kill baby Hitler? Would you do that? He's a baby. Would you kill baby Hitler if you got a time machine? You would say, no, he's a baby, wouldn't you? You wouldn't kill a child, would you?
But I also think that...
No, you wouldn't kill baby Hitler, would you?
No.
No, okay. You wouldn't kill baby Hitler. He wouldn't kill baby Hitler. Well, you are opposed to killing baby Hitler. If you had a time machine and your only option was to go back to 1900 Austria, that was it. It had one setting, it was broken. And all you could do is kill baby Hitler. You wouldn't do it because he's a baby?
No, because he's a patsy.
He's a patsy. Okay.
Hitler wasn't in control of anything, just like Donald Trump's not in control of anything.
All right. Okay. All right. Just one record. You wouldn't kill baby Hitler. Okay.
On the record.
On the record. Wouldn't kill baby Hitler. Hey, if you could go to a time machine in 1900 Austria, would you kill baby Hitler?
All right, man.
With your current knowledge. He's a baby.
Oh, Cameron. No.
All right, man. It was good chatting with you.
Nice. Is this going to be on the Anarchistpost here? What do you
say?
Yeah,
it's on right now. Live streaming.
Oh, exciting. Okay, cool. All right.
That was good. That was on me.